My name is Colleen and this is my kitchen. I've struggled with my weight my entire life. After trying every diet in the book without any success, I came to the realization that diets don't work. I started my journey at a size 26W weighing just over 300 pounds. In almost a year and a half, I've lost over 120 pounds and I am a size 14. No W. What's my secret? Eating healthy and moving more. Now I'm here to show you how you can cook healthy food without compromising on taste and lose weight just like I have. Because if I can do it, you can too.
Hello and welcome back to my kitchen. Tonight I have a semi-elegant dinner for you, and I promise it'll take you about 30 minutes to whip the whole thing up and put it together. And it's a great gourmet restaurant quality meal that you can make in your home in less than 30 minutes and still have it be healthy, lifestyle friendly. And it starts with this. This looks a little bit like Frankenstein's brain, but let me tell you what this is. If you haven't cooked with one before, this is celery root. And so what that is this is basically the root ball that the stalks of celery grow from. It's not stringy like celery is. Instead, it's very tender and it can be very creamy when it's cooked up. And so what we're going to do is we're going to make a celery root puree. This is very, very common actually in Europe and France in particular. And so to do that, what I want to do is trim this a little bit more, give me a flat bottom, and then I'm going to use my knife to take this peel off. Just like that. Just run my knife right around the sides. Once you have that peeled, then we're going to cube it up. And you can do that any way you like, whichever is easiest. These can be, as you can see, a little tough to slice through. We're going to end up mashing this, so it doesn't matter how symmetrical or how even the slices are. Now that I have that cubed up, I've got 2 cups of a homemade clear vegetable broth. This is salt-free because I made it myself here at home. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add that celery root right to that broth and bring that to a boil. And I want to let it boil for about 20-25 minutes until it's really tender, as I throw it on the floor, until it's really tender and mashes easily. This isn't going to fall apart or flake apart like a potato, but it will get very nice and creamy. And it's got way less calories than a potato, and it's actually more nutritious for you. So I hope that you'll give this dish a try and see what you think. While that celery root boils away, let's get started on our flank steak. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use 1 tablespoon of fennel seed. And what we're going to do is crush the fennel seed. Now you can do this in a couple of different ways. You can put it in a bag and roll it with a rolling pin. I have this little wooden tool called a tart shaper, which I use to make tarts in my mini muffin pan. But what I do is use it like a mortar and pestle with this. And so I just, you hear that crunch? That's the fennel seed crunching. And what this does is it's going to just release the flavor and the aroma of all those seeds. It has this great, like licorice kind of scent to it. It's going to be really good on steak. Once I have those crushed up there, then I'm going to add a couple more herbs. First, we're going to add a half a teaspoon of dried rosemary. And then we're going to add a half a teaspoon of dried thyme. Half a teaspoon of coarse sea salt. And some freshly ground black pepper. And then but not least, I have 1 clove of garlic. I'm going to press in because that'll make it very fine and juicy, just like that. And I'm just going to use my fork to stir that around and combine it. I have here 1 pound of flake steak, which I got at the deli case instead of, or I'm sorry, at the butcher case instead of at the self-service meat. And so the nice part about doing that, about going to a true butcher, is that they will cut it however you want. So I got 1 pound, and I had them trim it of any visible fat. So it's super, super lean steak. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take half of this rub that we just made, and the benefit of a rub is we get tons of flavor with no additional calories. So I'm just going to pat that in, and then take the remaining half and put that on the other side. Rub that in there really well. Now, I'm not going to be grilling this outdoors. It's still a little bit cold. It's about 45 degrees outside. So, I am using my indoor grill pan, which has great deep ridges on it. I've just coated it with some nonstick cooking spray to give it a start. And what I'm going to do, hear that sizzle? You want your pan to be nice and hot when you put it in there. I have a few herbs left on here, so I'm just going to put those right on the top there. Now, you want to cook it for, how long you cook it is really going to depend on how well you like your steak done. I like my steak medium, so I'm going to cook it about 8 minutes on each side. So we're going to let that cook, and then we'll come back and finish this up. Our steak is finished. I'm going to remove that from my pan and set that on my cutting board. And I want to let it sit for about 5 minutes to let all those nice juices inside kind of settle and congeal together a little bit. So while that's settling, let's finish up that celery root mash. So to finish up that celery root mash, first I'm going to get a couple of things going to add into it. And I have here 4 brown mushrooms that I'm going to mince up like that. And I've got this pan, saute pan, that I've just coated with some nonstick cooking spray, so no oil. To that I'm going to add a pinch of coarse sea salt, about a 1/4 teaspoon. Again, I'm boiling the celery root in broth that is homemade. It doesn't have any salt in it. So if you make this recipe using a store-bought broth, you want to make sure not to add any salt until the very end, just to taste. I'm also going to add in 1 clove of garlic here. And so I want to cook this until my onions are browned. They'll shrink down in size quite a bit. And so while those are cooking, I'm going to go drain the celery root. And what I want to do is drain it into through a strainer and reserve the liquid, because I want to save that broth. I'm going to use a little bit of it when I mash these up. A lot of people, when they mash celery root, like to puree it. And I find that that's not really necessary. I mean, you certainly can. It's a little less arm muscle for you to use. But if you just get an additional dish dirty, and you can do this just with a potato masher and then a fork to finish it up a little bit finer. So I just want to mash this until it's about the consistency of mashed potatoes. Now, I'm mashing it dry right now. It's very, very moist, so I'm not going to really need to add too much liquid in, but I have a little bit of that vegetable broth that it was cooking in. I'm going to add that in, and just keep mashing until it's nice and creamy. to that celery root, I have a little bit of Italian or flat leaf parsley here, and I'm going to chop it up. Once it's chopped, it'll be about a 1/4 cup. So we add that parsley right to that celery root, and now I'm going to add in those mushrooms. And give that a good stir. And last but not least, let's add 2 tablespoons of crumbled blue cheese. A great finishing touch. And you want to serve this literally as soon as you get that blue cheese mixed in, otherwise it can start melting and it gets the cheese can get a little watery when it gets melty. Perfect. So let's serve this up. And here we go, our finished product. I have some fennel crusted flank steak and celery root mash with mushrooms and blue cheese. It's going to be delicious. Gourmet restaurant quality food that's good for you in 30 minutes. You can't beat that. Like I said, it's all about healthy eating without compromising on taste. I hope that you'll give this a try and let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time in my kitchen.